all my raw feelings and emotions that I showed on last night's live match reaction are still very much the way I feel about last night's game. I've actually held off all day from making this video because I do feel as detached and as deflated with Celtic as I made out on last night's live reaction. It's been a horrible 24 hours to be a Celtic fan. The discourse following last night's game has been toxic, to say the least, and rightfully so, because it was an embarrassment. And I'm not looking forward to making this video right now, but I'm going to try my best to talk about last night, maybe in a more level-headed manner, maybe not. It's not great at the minute, and we can't lie about that. But Callum McGregor thinks things will change. We're going to talk about that and what needs to happen moving forward. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. Thank you all so much for the support so far this season, despite things being, let's just say it how it is, terrible. And I appreciate all of you holding on throughout last night's rant as we reacted to the game of football that was in front of us. It wasn't nice, but you guys were there to watch, so I appreciate that. Today, I'll try and keep the sweary words to a minimum. I'll try and keep the shouting to a minimum. I'll go through things in a much more dignified manner. So I'm not joking when I said I didn't want to make this video today. I have left it to the last minute to sit here and talk about Celtic. I just wanted to take 24 hours off from even thinking about them, let alone sitting in front of a camera. But then I remembered, you know, this is quite literally my job. And, you know, I've got the amount of subscribers I do because you enjoy coming here to hear my opinion, whether you agree or not. And I've decided I may as well talk about the game, especially now that maybe I've calmed down a little bit and most fans have calmed down a little bit. But I think, you know, when I say that, I also recognise at the same time that maybe we haven't calmed down. The discourse is still going on, especially within the boundaries of social media. I feel like people are still raging about last night's game. And I can't blame anybody. I am still raging about last night's game. But I feel like at least I can talk about it as if I've calmed down. I have recognised what went wrong. I've recognised what needs to change moving forward. And yeah, I can also try and look at things with a dash of optimism. But right now, I really don't think you can fault Celtic fans for not feeling much optimism. And I know that there always is a contingent of supporters and an element of the support that no matter what will look at things optimistically because they've seen Celtic at their worst and they know it could be far worse than what we are seeing right now. There's always going to be a small amount of people who just think it will get better and will close their eyes to the problems that exist in front of us. But I think right now it's definitely the worst it's been since COVID. And that has been the kind of narrative since Kairat Almaty. And there's a number of different reasons for that. The performance on the park being one of them. The tactical decisions being one of them. And of course, the very poor backing and care of the Celtic board. But we have now kind of put together a cocktail of, and I said I'd calm down with the sweary words, but this is the only way I can word it. We've kind of put together a cocktail of shite. You know, one of the worst concoctions that you could possibly put together, and there's no way that I can feasibly see a way out of it right now. I'm going to talk about the captain's comments in a minute, but there's just no way where I can see Celtic getting better at the minute. And I know a lot of people have suggested, you know, let's drop such and such, let's even sack the manager, and let's do this and that. But I don't think any of these short-sighted decisions are actually going to bring forward much of a change right now. I feel like a lot of these problems are just so much more deep-rooted. And that's what I'm more concerned about. So yeah, I look at last night's isolated 90 minutes and I go, yep, it's bad, performances are bad, manager should be questioned, manager should be on a shaky peg. But I can also look at that 90 minutes and go, that's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, I think that Celtic have so much more to worry about than just a quick fix or a quick change. And obviously that might start with this meeting that comes on Monday. The players do have an opportunity to change things. The question is, will they? And I say that off the back of Callum McGregor's comments in the press that we'll look at in a moment. But him, especially as a player, the group of players alongside him and the manager do have an opportunity to change things between now and the end of the season. Because let me just make one thing crystal clear right now, right? Unless things get drastically bad, and unless Celtic are trailing Hearts by about 15 points come Christmas, the board are not going to sack Brendan Rodgers. They're just not going to do it. Whether you want that or not, the board aren't. And obviously, you all know this, right? There's no point in me beating around the bush here. I don't personally think Brendan Rodgers should get sacked. Not right now, anyway. I also think it would be a pointless endeavour because there's nobody available that's going to come to Celtic in this climate to make things better. We'd be staring down the barrel of a Sean Maloney-esque Neil Lennon type appointment. That's what would happen. So I just don't see the sense in it. I get it. The football's brutal. The football's terrible. But this is what I mean. They are the only people now, the players in the park and the manager, that can change this between now and whenever. Between now and the end of the season. And feasibly, that is possible. But it's just so hard to see it happening. Especially when you've got so many people, including the captain, performing way under the expectations that they've put there for themselves. The captain in particular, who has been a stalwart, a constant in the Celtic side for the last 10 years, doesn't look anywhere near the ability he should be playing at. And I think people are quite rightly having the conversation of, is he done? I think there is a case of, is he done? But I think this is what I kind of want to bring myself back to the point I was originally making in this video. And this is what the purpose of this video is just now. To talk about the deep-rooted issues at Celtic. I think it goes beyond Brendan and this team. I think that when you just have this such lack of life that kind of exists around the club at the minute, it's hard to get anybody motivated. It's hard to encourage anyone. That goes for the fans in the stadium last night, who were flat, who were dead, who probably couldn't even be arsed being there. It goes for the manager, who's clearly out of ideas and probably struggling to find encouragement to get new ideas. It goes for the players, who look like they're not even trying on the park. And of course it goes for the board, who aren't even attempting to take the club forward. When you have all of this happening, I don't have much faith at all. And that is that going to change between now and the end of the season? I am so worried it doesn't. And I don't even think that you could hypothetically give the Celtic job to a Pep Guardiola, to a Jurgen Klopp, to a Jose Mourinho, to an Ange Postecoglou, and I don't think it would make a great difference right now, because I think that it's just, there's a rot that exists, and I think it's going to take a while to get rid of that. I really do. So I wanted to look at the captain's comments because they were interesting to all of these things that I'm saying right now. And I get it. There will be people watching this video going, Ryan, you're exaggerating. Ryan, of course things will get better. I do acknowledge there's a good chance things will get better because I feel like they can't get much bloody worse, right? But what evidence do we genuinely have right now to suggest it's going to get better? We couldn't beat Hibs at Celtic Park at the weekend. We couldn't score a single goal into Kairat Almaty. We couldn't score against Braga. We were probably lucky to get a point in Serbia last week. We have struggled domestically, scoring 8 goals in 6 league games. There is not an awful lot of evidence to suggest things will get better. So I know that some of you will be saying, Ryan, stop exaggerating. Come the end of the season, you'll be looking at yourself and thinking, oh, I went in a bit too far. But if it does change between now and the end of the season, fair play to the people that make it happen. Because right now, I don't see it. So I thought these quotes from Callum McGregor today were very interesting, because he thinks there's an overnight hope that Celtic will be back to their best, which I think is incredible for him to say aloud, because surely he can't be even impressed by his own performances or motivated by his own performances when he's been probably one of the worst players in the team so far this season. But he thinks that there's this overnight thing that's going to change, and I hope he's right. So his exact words are that we're still getting there in the terms of the fluidity and the connections with all the new guys in the team as well. It takes time to build on that level. It feels like key moments are going against us at the minute, and we have to ride it out. That's the one thing we'll do. We'll continue to work tirelessly on the training pitch to keep trying and nail it. Hopefully, it will just spark overnight, and you just have one game where everything drops, and hopefully the team will go and fly from there. I struggle to see where that's going to happen. I struggle to see where Celtic are going to build momentum, because even hypothetically, right, if Celtic go to play Motherwell on Sunday, say somehow we win 4-5-0, which is not going to happen, I can't see it. Even if we do win 4-5-0, you've then got an international break that just stunts all of the momentum, that just derails you straight away, and then you're back to square one when you come back to a pretty tough run of fixtures. You know, we've got Hearts at Tynecastle, when we're back from the international break. We've got tough games in Europe. We've got a cup semi-final against Rangers on the horizon. I really don't see where the momentum builds for Celtic right now. And I appreciate Callum McGregor maybe having that hope, but I think this is just something he's saying in the media to try and bring a bit of optimism back to the support, which just isn't working right now. And I can't help but reiterate that point, that I really, really do worry that momentum is just not going to build within this team at the minute. McGregor talks about how new players aren't gelling into the side maybe the way they would like to just yet, and I understand that, and I do think that sometimes in this, especially in this modern age where we're quick to react to everything, whether it's positively or negatively, I think that we've been a little bit guilty of not giving certain players time, or not giving a certain group of players to gel. But at the same time, it's never been this bad at Celtic, especially when you're in a division that you should be quite convincing most weeks, and players should probably gel a bit quicker. You know, I remember when Ange came in and we got all these new players, it took time, but there was signs of it working. There's no signs of it working right now, and in fact, the signs of regression are more poignant than anything else. You know, they're more evident. You know, it's very, very, very telling that it seems to be going backwards rather than forwards. And you're not just hoping that it clicks, you're hoping that it's a total reversal for it to click. That's a big job. It feels like an even harder job than what Ange had when he first came to the club. So it's really, really difficult to feel that optimism right now, because a lot of these new signings and a lot of these players just aren't showing the levels to play for Celtic, or what you would want to see for a player that's playing for Celtic. I worry. I really do worry. And I'm trying my best to be as optimistic as possible, as I always have done on this channel. And I still stand by. I'm not reversing anything I've said the past few weeks. I still think Celtic will win the league. Whether we win anything on top of that, different conversation. For now, I still think Celtic will win the league. Whether we win the league in style or not is a completely different question. And the fact that we're probably not going to do so well in the Europa League when this time last year we were doing so well in the Champions League, it's just sad. It's really just sad. Point I made in my video last night is, if you can't have your most experienced and quote-unquote best players pulling you out of ruts, or at least kind of showing some positivity in the middle of a rut, then how are you expecting the lesser players to then pull you out of a rut? Because if you've got McGregor, who's been pish, Tierney, who's been pish, and Maida, who's been... I'm not even going to get started on Dyson Maida. And Schmeichel, who's been pished, not been able to perform to level. That's your player of the year, your captain, your most experienced international, and your golden boy, all performing way below the expectations. So everybody else, you know, your Nigrens and your Kalechi's and your Sebastian Teneckis and your Liam Scaleses and your Colby Donovans and all the rest of it, how are they expected to pull you out of a rut if your best can't do it? That's why I just worry. There's too many signs of regression. There is too many signs of decline. And I worry that Brendan Rodgers has got too much loyalty to some of these players to wake up and smell the coffee and to make changes before it's too late. And as much as I love Brendan Rodgers, he will continue to put his reputation and his job on the line, at least amongst the supporters anyway, if he doesn't change it sooner rather than later. I feel like I've just kind of been going in circles in this video, and it's just one of those videos where I don't feel like a structure would do it justice. I am just kind of speaking from my own gut and my own mind right now. But that was one thing last night. The word regression stuck in my mind. I heard so many people using that word. My dad used that word. How could you regress so badly? How has it been allowed to regress this badly? Well, that's why I'm hoping that this actually makes a difference. This is why I'm hoping that the Celtic Fans Collective on Monday now have the ammunition they need to walk into this meeting and make it a different meeting from what we would normally anticipate. There are so many people who are feeling pessimistic or negative about this meeting, and I get that, because we know what this board are like. You know, is this the type of meeting that's been put in place to appease supporters and to pretend that they're listening when it's just going to be them talking at Celtic supporters and dismissing them without any real change? That could be the case. But now, after the game last night, we have all the fucking proof and all the ammunition that we need to go into that meeting and say, this is what you've caused, it's not good enough, and you shouldn't be employed. You shouldn't be in the job that you're in. You should go. And I don't think that we should extend any olive branches to them. I don't think that we should entertain any excuses. I think that we should be... I'm not going to be there at the meeting, just to make it clear. I am not one of the members of the steering committee who will be present at the meeting on Monday. I'm not on the steering board. I'm part of the collective. I represent this channel and the Celtic the Thunder podcast on the collective. I am not part of the steering board. But I think those members of the steering board, and we do have communication where we can talk to those in the steering board. I think most people have said via that means of communication, this is it now. We've got all the backing that we need, all the evidence that we need to actually go in and do something. I'm under no illusion that this first meeting will bring any real change. And that is stressed in the statement that was put out by the collective, which was a great statement. I don't think anybody's under any illusion of what kind of scale of change we're looking for here and when we're going to get it. But I think now you've got the perfect opportunity to go in and say, you two sitting there should be fucking ashamed of yourself. And I'm sure they'll do it in a much more professional manner than what I could. And I'm hoping that it does bring forward some form of dialogue on Monday at least. Am I expecting grand change? No. Am I expecting productive dialogue? I would like to think so. And even no matter what the results are of the meeting on Monday, I think that there needs to be a takeaway from it on our side, the supporters' side, to at least acknowledge that moving forward, we have aims. Moving forward, we've got things to do, and we're going to continue to push this as far as we can until people are removed from their position of power, until we are appeased with what's changing at the club. They should be as embarrassed as the rest as what we saw on last night. They were the ones sitting on their phones, laughing amongst themselves when the cameras panned to them. They should be ashamed. They really should be. And I'm hoping this does something. It can't keep going on the way it is. They are directly responsible for the lack of motivation around so many different areas of the club, and it doesn't excuse the manager or the players for the shite they're serving us up either. But they are the ones it comes from at the top, and they need to go. I feel like there's so much yet to say, and such little time to say it. I'm going to be here over the weekend, of course, throughout the course of the weekend when we play Motherwell as well, to talk about things. We might try and get another live stream going as well, so I can get your thoughts and opinions and such brought into it as well. But for now, that's it. As I said, it just feels a bit of a ranty video, just to kind of get things off my chest. Not the kind of video that everybody enjoys, but there's not much else to talk about at the minute, and there's not many ways to approach things at the minute either. I know plenty of people probably want me to talk about the VAR decision, for example, from last night. I don't really want to talk about the VAR decision. I think it's pointless. It's a terrible decision. Whoever made the decision should be sacked. Referee shouldn't be involved in VAR again. It's one of the worst decisions in VAR history. But it doesn't suddenly stop the conversations we should be having about the greater good of the club, the greater well-being of the club. And I don't think it would have made a world of difference on what happened last night. I don't feel as robbed as what some others might, because I still think we were too poor to even think about it from that perspective. But I guess it's, each to their own. There you go, that's me, 20 minutes of absolute tomfoolery and nonsense as usual. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.